for how to take a person's DNA and accurately determine their age. And judging by the quality of that proposal, as Vincent noted earlier, I expect they spent a lot of time after school on the weekends and working hard with their mentor here. And, you know, I got to commend that commitment. That's quite an achievement. Now, although the proposal did not make the cut for the full award, I would like to point out a few of the highlights of the proposal just to kind of key in on the great achievement. And number one, they presented evidence in their proposal that was based on prior work and that was cited in the proposal. And this is really a fundamental and required element of the scientific method. I think that's a great achievement. And number two, their proposal was very logically written and structured to answer all the elements of the challenge that we posed to. And I got to say, it was better well written, or more well written than many of the proposals that we received. And maybe to go a little bit further, it's maybe more well written than many of the professional correspondence that I review every day. So quite an achievement there. And finally, let me make one more point. Some of the actual strategies that they proposed were in common with the winning proposal. So, for example, one particular element was the notion of following the oxidation of mitochondrial DNA to relate to age. That was certainly a key element of the winning proposal. But let me be clear, as Vincent pointed out, the authors of the winning proposal were experts, PhD-level computational and molecular biologists from around the world. You know, they were working on the same challenge and arriving at many of the same conclusions as this team of talented scientists here at Mekedia. I think that's pretty amazing. That's quite an achievement. So yeah, I want to commend this great achievement and recognize these students, and I really look forward to what they're planning next, to be honest. Thank you.
I think it's important for these great scientists, so I've got a couple of questions for them, and I think what I'll do is just hand the mic off to them after we ask the question. The first one would be, describe your experience studying for the challenge.
Honestly, the experience studying for the challenge was intimidating at first, given that we had to look at all these different potential studies that had taken place prior, and then we had the looming threat of the research proposal, which is kind of scary for a high school student who's never written one. So it was excellent to have a mentor like Caitlin, who knew what she was doing with her studies, and it was excellent to have Jordan and Mekedia, who were willing to cooperate and split the work and research through Google Docs and technology. It had a great team dynamic in the sense that there was no one person who did all the work like in school projects. It was a great collaboration.
Let me ask another question. This will be. So what types of resources did you use to put your solution together?
Well, we split our research up into like different topics that we thought maybe were good leads to go off when writing our final proposal. And we looked at a lot of online encyclopedias and databases from universities like Berkeley, among others, and used that to kind of get some data and some previous studies that we've done to base our proposal off.
Good. I've got these questions written down. There wasn't enough room on my hand. I apologize. So, another question. How many hours, because everybody wants to know this, right? How many hours did you study and when did you study?
Well, during our fusion time, for about, how many?
I would say a half hour for every, we spent probably 6 weeks working on it.
Yeah. And we would meet like every other day, and that was just collaboration-wise, like when we got together, but also we did some work at home and research at home. It all depends on the person. I did probably 1 or 2 hours a week with the research and everything.
Okay. Now, Caitlin doesn't know that I'm going to ask her a question, so she's probably thinking, oh my goodness, I hope I can answer alumni. So you came in from the outside. Talk a little bit about the interaction. Did you notice any personality differences that were intermixing in the process? Did one person emerge as a leader? Tell us some about what you were trying to mesh together.
Well, I think first off, I noticed that these three girls were really focused and driven on whatever task Ms. Phillips was going to put in front of them. In general, I think these girls are going to go really far in their careers, and I could tell that this would be a good challenge to put in front of them in their senior year. And I'd say that in the beginning, we tried to figure out how to split it up evenly. I think that was very important to not put pressure on one person. So each person took a topic that they had in mind after reading the proposal put forth. And initially we just went our separate ways and said, okay, let's see what each person can come up with on their own. And then we came together and collaborated and looked at which was the strongest argument and agreed in which direction we would proceed. So I think the basis of the team was actually just working together and listening to each other's ideas. And in general, they each came forth with their own strong points. I know Stephanie was really strong in finding more citations to use. Jordan was very strong in actually putting the research together into coherent paragraphs and the paper itself. And Mekedia kind of kept everything on track and said, you know, we need this done at this time. So I think everyone had their own strong suits.
Good. One other question. And I think, did your participation, I'm going to ask you so you can think about this for a second, okay? Did your participation as a crowdsourcing solver influence or change your approach in studying for your current classes?
There is no way to say it, certainly other than absolutely. Having written a research proposal and being in a technical writing class in Capstone where I have to write a procedure for a case study for an internship in elementary school, it influenced that entirely in the sense that what happened before, what do I need to look at, and how is it influencing what's happening now? And having written research papers and not just proposals since then, it's played an important role in realizing how integral citations are to academia and just work in general.
Well, we have a certificate for each one of these individuals for the great work that they've done. But I have a challenge for everybody in this room, and that is, I want you to take away from this, think of one way in which you can extend out of your comfort zone and find a way to improve yourself. That could be learning a new discipline that maybe you haven't been interested in, or you're not naturally, you feel that you don't have that tendency to be good at, but it doesn't have to be exactly that, but make a new friend, extend your network, because Battelle, and as you start to look out on the internet, now that you've found out about crowdsourcing, there are a lot of opportunities for you to answer these type of questions. And anybody in this room can be the winner of a next crowdsource challenge. So we have a nice little plaque for each individual that we'd like to give you. You guys, Caitlin. Thank you. Stephanie.
have been great, and we really appreciate your interest in this. And truly, you guys here in the Fab Lab, in your classes, we do design challenges all the time. Think they're talking design challenge that you actually get paid for. So these are online, these are things that you can enter, and it's a challenge put forth, you're already doing that, and you can make money. So appreciate, give these ladies a final round of applause. They did a great job. And we want to thank Battelle for taking time out of their day to come and see us. I don't think every high school gets to